Never let anybody see you sweat. So I was born in New York City, and I lived there until I was 8 years old. I realized that I was a much better talker than I was a listener. I don't know what to say, I just don't like what you're saying.
Sorry, Your Honor.
I ended up going to law school at Georgetown, and I was a prosecutor for Janet Reno. I loved it because it was so raw. Were you cheating on her?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All rise.
Our show will be a mixture of education, I think you're misreading the law a little bit, and entertainment. My main goal is justice and the law. That's been my legacy, and the legacy I hope to continue into the future with the show.
David Reynolds claims his landlord blamed him for damage that existed when he moved in and kept his security deposit for repairs. And Marie Pinto says the plaintiff's unit needed a lot of work, and she is countersuing for $508.
Okay, Mr. Reynolds, you are suing Ms. Pinto for the return of your $1,500 security deposit. You are counterclaiming against him for an additional $508 in damages. Let me hear from you first, Mr. Reynolds.
Sure.
How long were you renting there?
2 years, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me your story. Tell me what happened when you decided to leave, why, and everything else.
Sure. Well, I moved in 2 years ago to Miss Pinto's apartment. I moved in because I really enjoyed the neighborhood. Miss Pinto seemed very friendly, and she did things a little bit differently. It was a little bit easier to find an apartment. She didn't have me sign a lease, so we made a verbal agreement. For the 2 years that I lived there, I was a very good tenant. She even mentioned that I was one of her best tenants that she had. During that time, I kept the place very tidy and neat. 2 years later, though, she mentioned that she would be raising the rent $150, and I gave her 30 days notice that I would not be able to afford that, and I would be moving out after the 30 days. It was very difficult to schedule a walkthrough for Miss Pinto to come by and see the house. On the night that I left, I informed her that I was moving out, and for her to come by, she said she was too tired and to just leave the keys in the apartment. So I left.
Did you leave it clean?
I did leave it clean, yes.
Okay, go on.
And 2 weeks later...
Were there any damages?
There were damages, but they were there at the beginning of when I had moved in.
When you moved into the apartment, did you note that in any way so that they wouldn't get blamed on you?
I didn't note that because I'm a very low-maintenance tenant, and I didn't want Miss Pinto to go through the hassle of having to replace things that I didn't feel like needed to be replaced. Let
me suggest to anybody within the sound of my voice right now, whenever you move into an apartment, you take a nice, painfully slow video of each and everything that is wrong, and you send it by email, so there's a record of it, to your landlord. And you tell them, I'm not asking you to fix this, or I only need you to fix X, or I don't need you to fix any of it. I just don't want to get blamed for it, okay? Did you take pictures before he moved in?
No, I didn't.
Okay, and so now, for all landlords within the sound of my voice, if you're handing over an apartment to somebody, you need to take really good pictures of how good it looks, because when all this becomes a contest later, you may or may not have a problem. Did you hear what he just said right now? That's how it was handed to me. We're gonna find out in a second. I'm gonna look at your pictures in a second. But according to you, that any damages that were there, that's how it was handed to you.
That is correct.
Okay. So then you asked for your security deposit.
Mm-hmm. I asked for my security deposit. Miss Pinto then made many invalid claims, ludicrous claims, frankly, that the apartment was left a complete mess, that it had a very strong odor, that multiple things were damaged, which, again, they had been damaged upon my arrival to the apartment when I first moved in. And she refused to give me back the security deposit and was claiming that I owed her more money for the damages, which, again, were present when I moved in.
Okay. See, this is where a written lease comes in handy, because one of the things a written lease says is that the tenant acknowledges receiving it in good condition. So we start out with you having an edge as the landlord whenever a tenant signs that, and then doesn't say, hey, no, I just moved in and there's these 20 things that I don't want to get blamed for. In any event, let me hear from you. How did he leave the apartment?
It was atrocious. I walked in. I wasn't able to see the apartment before he left because he was like, I'm cleaning, I'm cleaning. I'm like, great, he's cleaning. So I just thought, it's a small apartment. He's getting it ready to move out. Then he texts me at 10:30 at night saying the place is ready to look at. And I'm like, way past my bedtime.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will look at it in the morning and leave your keys there and I'll walk through in the morning. I kid you not, I walk in there, I couldn't breathe. It was like a dead body was hidden underneath the wood paneling, but I don't know if if he was that kind of a person. It just smelled atrocious in there. And the window was like blocked off, like he never opened the window, so there was black mold on the walls. The sink was damaged. There was like leakage from the sink that he never told me about, so it rotted the floors underneath it in the bathroom area. I had to repair and paint the walls. I had to rent some air purifiers for the smell alone. And I only wished I didn't throw my COVID masks away because I had to breathe some of that. And I got sick afterwards too because of the damage. The smell was so bad.
Okay, and let me see the pictures. Did you take pictures of how you left the apartment?
Yes, I did. I have them right here.
Okay.
My pictures?
This is how I left the apartment.
Okay. Sorry, yeah.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
He claims you gave it to him this way.
No, it was not like that.
But that's what. But I want to make sure you pick up what he's putting down. He's not saying, "Oh, you know, boys will be boys." He's saying you gave it to him this way.
That is incorrect.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Emmy-nominated Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with a case of David Reynolds, who brought Anne-Marie Pinto to court for the return of his security deposit.
Well, I mean, you guys may have had a great relationship during those 2 years, but it kind of descended in the text. David, I went through the room. It was in terrible condition. The carpet was stained. The refrigerator smelled awful. There was mildew in the bathroom, and the walls were marked up. Blah, 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 blah. Wait, what? That's not even remotely accurate. I don't smoke, I don't cook, I don't even own a candle. I cleaned that room for hours. Then you demand some receipts, and eventually you tell her, come on, Ann, stunk? Really? And you say, still nothing? Or do we just call it an air purifier tax and move on? She really did rent air purifiers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, usually when a landlord says, oh, it smells so bad and I had it clean for 3 days, you know, then you could say, well, what evidence do you have of that? But she actually really did rent air purifiers. So this is the wall damage.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing there. Like, it looks like there was moisture building up in there, so the paint was peeling off. There's mold on the black wall, and like, he was breathing that, so I don't even know. Like, if you're
There's
breathing,
mold. Wait, which wall?
The top left. You could see like mold building onto the wall.
I think it's fair to say, Your Honor, that after 2 years of living in an apartment, there's going to be some sort of wear and tear on the
yeah,
walls.
you
there's
live
gonna be
like a
wear and
pig.
tear, but that's up to me to decide what wear and tear is. Wear and tear isn't damage. Wear and tear is wear and tear.
Right.
You know, it's different. What is this? What is depicted in this picture? The bottom.
That is the
Right.
damage on the floor. From I don't know what he was doing in there. Like, he said he cleaned it up. So what it looked like before he cleaned,
I may have left a little
it was
dust.
probably
Okay.
a war zone. This is the after the clean.
But am I correct that what you want me to note in this bottom right-hand picture is the debris on the floor?
Is the debris, and like there's damage on the floor too, like there's scuffing damage.
Well, I can't see that from this picture, so let's see if you have any better pictures of that. Okay, I've got this set of pictures that you've labeled floor damage.
So the one picture on the right is the water damage from the sink. It was clearly leaking. There was water coming from under the sink. He never told me about it, so I could do repairs prior.
Right.
So I was never informed of that. The
'Cause
other picture looks like he was tap dancing because like the wood's coming off the floor.
What is this?
Your Honor, I frankly don't know because I hadn't seen the floors because there was a carpet over it. I will say, though, when I arrived to the apartment on my first day on move-in, the carpet was very dirty, and I had to buy a separate rug to put over her carpet because I was very considerate and I didn't want to ruin the carpet further. So this appears to be the floor damage from what was already there.
Is this under the rug or is this in another spot?
This was under the rug. There was a carpet that I bought that was given to me by my mom. It was a very nice antique carpet that he put coffee stains on, and then instead of like cleaning that up, he gets another carpet to cover up the dirty. Like,
This is your theory because you don't live with him.
I don't live with
But
him.
But you saw old coffee stains on your rug.
on my rug, and then the new rug that he
damage,
put on.
rug damage.
Yeah, that's my rug, and then he put another rug that wasn't mine.
How do you know this is coffee?
Well, it's blacks. I mean, if you drink He's
I don't
an
know
English
what
teacher. He probably got bored reading all those books.
Are you telling me
coffee
she
inside.
rented? Why would an English teacher get bored reading all this? There's nothing better than books. I can't believe you said that. All right, listen to me. What is this? Because nobody rents an apartment with that and doesn't say, hey, get me a new rug. So I'm having a hard time hearing you say, oh, it was like that. It was like that when I went in.
Again, Your Honor, I'm a very low maintenance tenant. I did notice the stain. It frankly didn't bother me. It didn't interfere with my daily life and how I operate.
Except for you had to go out and buy another rug to cover it up?
Right, I did that out of the kindness of my heart.
Kindness of your heart, as opposed to telling her, hey, you mind? Like, this is gross. Replace it.
Yeah, I didn't feel it necessary.
Wait, no. He claims you gave it to him this way.
No, it was not like that.
Right, but that's what. But I want to make sure you pick up what he's putting down. He's not saying, oh, boys will be boys. He's saying you gave it to him this way.
That is incorrect.
And so now I have a swearing match as opposed to a lease, which would say, I hereby accept it in good condition. Or even just an email. If you don't want to mess with leases, fine. Then you have a month-to-month tenancy. But even just an email, please acknowledge that everything was good and correct and in good working order, nothing's damaged in the apartment. Even if you're not going to take the time to take pictures to show how you handed it over.
I just never had,
and the same to you. You want to tell me that you bought another rug to go over it instead of saying, this is disgusting, I'm not going to rent it this way. I'm having a little trouble with that as well. What about the under sink damage? Was there a leak?
I hadn't noticed.
Maybe you're a little too low maintenance. In other words, there's things that happen in a living place where somebody has to put their finger in the dam, or it's just going to be a lot worse damage. And a leak is one of them. And this looks like there's a leak.
It appears there was a leak. I didn't use that cabinet drawer because, again, it was pretty disgusting when I first got there. I found another place to store my kitchen appliances.
Again, that's inaccurate. That sink was perfectly fine. He never told me there was a leak damage in there. Like, I honestly think that something's wrong with him that he didn't notice that. Like, there's blinders on, or what's going on, Dave?
Viewers asked, and now Judge Milian has the answer.
What if your landlord unfairly retains your security deposit? What kind of evidence are you looking for as a judge to say, yeah, you've proven your case and you should get the money back?
That is very fact specific.
Right.
And every state has their own laws about landlord-tenant. And now that we have the internet, you can really just put that in there and read the 20 pages and be an expert on this.
In a hurry.
In whatever time it takes you to read 20 pages.
Right.
Coming up.
Why did the microwave have to be replaced?
It looked like it short fused. Like I think he might have put something in there with aluminum foil.
You're watching Emmy-nominated Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with the case of David Reynolds, who brought Anne-Marie Pinto to court for the return of his security deposit.
Okay, ruined fridge. How old is this fridge?
It's about 6 years old.
Do you have a receipt for the actual purchase of the fridge when you purchased it?
This fridge?
Yeah, because you're suing, in your case, you are claiming an entitlement to replacement value.
Right.
And that's not how the law works. A landlord doesn't get to replace it and then get a brand new fridge that's not going to break for another 10 years.
Right.
What you get is the value of the ruined fridge.
Okay,
But
I don't have it on me
just
right now.
Food for thought if you're ever in this position. Again, one of the things that you have to show is the age of the unit, because it looks like a really old unit.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at ice buildup on the top.
Which I assumed because there was the buildup there, nothing was getting really cool in the fridge, so that's probably why it smelled so bad in the apartment. It smelled terrible inside that fridge.
The rug that you had that he ruined, tell me how old that rug was. Give me your best guess, because it was given to you by your mom.
It was given to me by my mom before she passed away, and so I've had.
The question is, what would you get for that rug on the open market, assuming it hadn't been damaged?
Well, it was a vintage rug. I mean, it had so that rug was probably, I thought, the same price as the one that I bought.
Yeah, but it's not, because it's old.
It was a gift, so I don't know how much that rug
I
was
got
worth.
you. Why did the microwave have to be replaced?
It looked like it short fused. Like I think he might have put something in there with aluminum foil or something, because it looked like it was burnt, and then
Do you have a picture of the microwave?
I don't think I have that.
Okay.
Coming up,
Was the microwave working when you moved in?
It was working when I moved in.
When did it stop working?
It must have been months prior to me moving out. I don't use the microwave often, so I don't have an exact date in mind.
you're watching Emmy-nominated Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with a case of David Reynolds, who brought Anne-Marie Pinto to court for the return of his security deposit.
Was the microwave working when you moved in?
It was working when I moved in.
When did it stop working?
It must have been months prior to me moving out. I don't use the microwave often, so I don't have an exact date in mind.
But it did break. Okay, if the microwave breaks and you supplied the microwave, then it's another tenant would say to you, hey, you need to replace the microwave. You need to replace the microwave. Not I need to replace the microwave. It's your microwave and it stopped working, and
Right.
you're supposed to provide working items.
Right.
So unless you have proof of what you just said, you don't even have a picture to show me. Did you ever put foil in there?
Well, he
absolutely
he
not.
damaged it. So
Well, no. The microwave isn't working.
yeah, because it was
You
damaged.
didn't take so say you. Now I'm going to need you to prove to me that the reason it wasn't working was his fault. How are you going to do that? Let me see the picture.
That's my bad
Right.
for not taking a photo.
Right. But if it's an
Okay.
appliance that you hand to him and it stops working, unless you can prove that he's the one who made it stop working, then that's just on you. Other than the refrigerator I know was dirty,
Yeah.
why did you have to replace the refrigerator?
The smell was so bad. Like I didn't know how I was gonna get rid of that smell. Like there was residue of food I couldn't get out. It was just. I called a cleaning person to clean it, and it was gonna be too expensive. They were gonna charge more money because of how bad the smell of the fridge was.
The stuff that you paid professionals that's dollar for dollar. I agree with
Right.
you on all that. That's not. It's just what is the value of a used rug? What is the value of a used refrigerator? Because I can tell from everything in the freezer that this is someone who doesn't. He just that's what we call a little too low maintenance.
Judge Milian's verdict when Justice for the People returns. You're watching Emmy-nominated Justice for the People with Judge Milian.
I'm going to award you all of the figures for the cleaning and all of that stuff and the damage to the floors, because that's dollar for dollar. As for the microwave, no, because if it stopped working some time ago, that would be your responsibility. As for the fridge, I'm going to order him to pay you what the market value of that old used fridge would be, which I say is a very generous $50. And as for the rug, another very generous $25. And that adds up to $1,010. How much was the deposit?
$1,500.
And you did follow all of the rules of your state of itemizing it and showing it to him within 21 days. I've checked that. You don't dispute that, right?
No.
So I believe that you are entitled to most of that deposit, but not all. And I am going to order you to return $490 net judgment for the plaintiff. On your counterclaim against him for additional money, obviously no, for the reasons I just said. So the net judgment is in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $490. Good luck, folks.
All rise.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $490.
Any last remarks for each other?
You know, I really wish we could have ended things more amicably.
I'm just sorry that the place was left a mess.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.